Majority of the people in there are Scousers. One wing in there, you've got about 7 iPhones between you. You know, and this is like, I'm going back. First time I seen an iPhone was in the hands of that Cashman's money man, Shorty. And you see these encrypted phones, you know, they've had them in custody for time. They've had them in jail for time. Just like they were getting iPhones and they're getting them Blackberries and, you know, the first ones. So in Lardham Grange, when Lardham Grange opened, as part of the criteria to get into Lardham Grange, you had to have a course to do, and the course there was the only course in the whole prison system, and it was to do with drug smuggling. So every drug smuggler or anyone involved in a conspiracy to smuggle drugs or narcotics put in for this drug course. It was like it was made deliberately so the prison would be filled with 80% drug dealers. And that's basically what happened. You know, the jail became a prison full of drug dealers. And you land in there and everyone's got a Rolex on. Everyone's wearing £400, £500 outfits to go on visits. It's what Lardham Grange like. And everyone is grafting. Everyone's still shifting parcels. Everyone's still making millions of pounds. And because it's all drug smugglers, it used to be, the criteria's changed now. They never used to accept lifers, now it accepts lifers. Do you understand? That's when the criteria changed. Before that, it was 80% drug smugglers. They didn't accept violent criminals at all. It was weird. But what happened in there was the 5-0 started putting plants on the wings. I wouldn't say the plants, I'd say the known criminals in your area, but they've just been informers all their lives. And these known criminals in your areas that have been getting paid all their lives, they'll go on the land and get put in a jail for 6 months. And he'll land with a couple of things up his backside, phones. Don't think for 1 minute you haven't got long-term paid informers that are in the system. And what'll happen is one of these, what they call them is HIR, and they're called Human Intelligence Resources. This is what they call them, HIRs, Human Intelligence Resources. So basically it's a snitch on the wing. It's been transferred in from somewhere on purpose, lands on this wing in Loudon. He's got a blower or two with him. There's been a spin in the prison on purpose. They took all the phones they know about, they took them. Now this kid's landed on the wing and he's the only one with the phones. Every kid on the wing needs to make a call. And this kid's the only one with a phone. And they're all going to this kid on association. And this kid's going, yeah, get in there, I'll make a call. All these kids are making phone calls on this one phone. 12 months down the line, bang. They run through the prison, 5-0. Everyone that done a bit of graft on that kid's phone, nicked, recorded, more jail. And there was a firm from Bradford, forgot his name, proper, not fucking Eggy Carney weighing on these kids' levels. These are next level, do you understand? Forgot his name, he was doing a 25 anyway. And he was like 6 into it. And whilst he's in Loudon, he's still shifting boxes of Bobby all over the gaff. And they've nicked him and like 7 others, and give them 20s on top of the 25. And the amount of lads that have gone to Lardham Grange still and jump on graft and get nicked on operations is mad. Still happening now. Got kids in jail getting nicked on conspiracies and getting 20s added to the sentences. And what you'll notice about the system, which needs to change, people, is this. You've got people that's in the system for 10 years for a sentence. And 2 years in, they've got into a fight, damaged the kid and had 4 added to the 10. and then they've had a 6 added to the 4, and then going through the prison system with a 10. They should have been out 8 years ago with the first release date. Now they're 8 years past that first release date because how they've behaved within custody. And they don't get no consideration to the environment. So if you're in prison and you go into that kid's cell and damage his face, they're treating it worse than if you were on the streets and you walked over someone and done damage to his face. The sentence you get for that crime from off the street is less severe than the sentence you get if you were already in prison and done that crime. You get more years than that kid on the street who's done it. Which is mad, isn't it? You know, this kid's in a public place. He's not really in an environment full of violence and everyone manipulating each other and all this madness. Whereas here you are. You've got to defend your life here. Ghana. Paula. Kieran EFC wants to talk about Leeds. Not asked. Let them get on with it up there, mate. You know, focus on your community, where you're from. You know, we've got madman on the streets of Liverpool. Let's bring it back home, where I belong. It's going off all over the country. Every day there's something mad happens in the West Midlands, mate. Every single day you turn the news on, something crazy's happened. Ryan Elite Security Dogs, are you worried about the threat of World War III? No, it's already here. I'm prepped for it, mate. I can survive on rations already. Looney saying all UK is... It's only our areas that are... It's like Leeds, you've got the rough end and the posh end. Same in every city. Every city, you've got the rich and you've got the poor. You can call it the rough end and you can call it the rich end. Basically, you've got the affluent and the poor. And it's always been that way. Don't know why you're not realising it. You know, you're voting in the affluent to control the poor every time. Every time you vote these politicians that you're aware of all in life into power, you're basically voting the rich into power. And then rich go on to control and decide how the poor live, what infrastructure the poor get, what community centres, how the poor are policed, what doctors, and all this is decided by the rich, affluent MP that you voted in because he talks like you. How many rich, spoiled rats talk like you and you wouldn't even have a cup of tea with them? But here we are. We've got a rich, affluent political figure who works on the same sheet as all them other politicians. And you're voting them in. And you don't like getting controlled by the rich and the powerful, but you're voting them in. Right across the country, you're voting the very people you don't want in power. So it is what it is, mate. That's what you need to understand. You're moaning about your own choices, basically. Why is Leeds having problems? I don't know, mate. Don't know the true extent, but it normally involves women and children. You know, that's where it starts, doesn't it? A woman or a child's being harmed. So the locals go, hang on a minute, it's gone too far now, bang. And you don't know whether it's to do with the illegal immigrants that are coming into the country. You don't know if that's what stemmed that off in Leeds. But there's a high probability that it is, isn't it? If it's not that, it'll be kids getting neglected and the system's trying to take the kids. Yes, Louise, but other than that, We're just, again, sitting here like a gang of dickheads trying to work out what it could be and why it happened and all that. What it could be, why it happened, you need to start jumping straight to is, we need to stop this happening. All yous real kids in Leeds, all yous real people in these places where yous are going on barnets, you need to start prioritising your damage. It's pointless running up and down the streets smashing all the windows and cars, because these are your own people. You've got an issue with the system, you've got an issue with the government, so why are you damaging the very people that are going to be your foundations for any sort of movement that you're starting? The first thing you need is the support of your community. The last thing you need is your community supporting the authorities against you. And what you're witnessing when all these helmets are running around thinking they're having a madness, they're wrecking the local shops, they're wrecking the local bus stops, they're wrecking the local, everything local that they use on a daily basis. The following day after it's ceased for a bit, it's all destroyed. So your kids can't get the usual before they go to school. They can't get the usual bus. They can't, everything just gets made difficult for your own kind because you're targeting the wrong infrastructure, basically. You know, instead of smashing that bus stop or smashing that house down or this, that, look for your communication blocks. We've all got them. On your roofs. Normally on your job centres like this. You'll see big community blocks. Communication blocks. Massive. Square blocks. Attached to them square blocks, you'll have receivers, antennas, satellite dishes. Loads of them. Burn them. What does that do? Stops the authorities communicating with each other. Cuts everything off digitally in that area. No airwaves. And this is the infrastructure you need to start taking out. Instead of hindering your own life and your own people's lives, hinder that organisation's life. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? If you take a communication block, do you know how much trouble and how much of a headache that's going to cause your local police force? Think about it. Imagine your police with no radios. That's what happens. You take a communication block off in Anfield, the coppers in that area are dead. They've got no way of communicating. All digital services gone down. Even your phones, majority of the mobile phones in the area, dead. Completely cut off. And what you need to understand is, the way I'm identifying this tactic for people to use, they've already used that tactic and they will do in the future to mute us. They can just go to these communication blocks and go switch. And every mobile phone in your area will not make a phone call or receive a message. Just like that. With the same communication blocks that I'm telling you, take out. Well, not telling you, just saying, prioritise the infrastructure if you want to cause maximum interruption for the authorities. Focus on what you're damaging. It's pointless damaging your own, trust me. How many disturbances have you seen up and down the country? And a few people get arrested for violent disorders like this, but then everything's just ruined for weeks and weeks because the councils like to let you know. They don't get out there, clean it straight away, fix it all, They let the whole community know. You're going to suffer for a bit. If you want to live like this, you can. Do you understand what I mean? They leave you in it. They leave you in the mess to teach everyone a lesson. And this is how they work, this is how they control the masses. I've told you that I keep on referring to prison. But that's what's happening. If you're on a wing in prison and one dickhead up on that wing, the other 59 people are having difficulties just on the back of this one kid. And the difficulties can impede your visits, can impede your legal visits, your domestic visits, your phone calls, your gym, your education. This is what happens in your community. Your community's bigger, so you can put 100 men as one man. 100 men as one man. Them 100 men doing madness on the estate is going to hinder the other 5,900 men. You know, you're going to feel the disruption from the authorities on the back of what's just gone on in your community. Everyone is. And that's the way they do it. They'll come on, strong arm the locals, let them know where the authority lies, who's dishing the discipline out, get you all back in line, get it working slowly again, clean up again. All the lads that was at the forefront defending the rights, like in the Knowsley protests, all the lads that had the heart to stand up and be counted, get jailed, which disheartens everyone else that had half an interest. I'm not going to jail for 2 years for that. And this is what they do, they use the discipline to frighten you into a way of behaving. And that's all you can do. That's why as soon as Keir Starmer got in power, his first priority was creating prison spaces. And he's willing to let out loads of strangers of a night. You know, them strangers that collect images of children and women. He's willing to let thousands of them walk free to create the prison spaces that's going to come, that's going to be filled on the back of disturbances like you're witnessing now in Leeds. They know what's coming. They're fully aware of the dynamics they're creating and the responses they're going to get back. They know, they're not stupid. What you're witnessing in Leeds right now, you're going to see all over the place in the next 18 months. And they're going to bring laws in, and they're going to use... they started using a word right across the word a few weeks ago on the back of Trump. And the word they was using was political violence. And they were using that a lot, which is indicating to me that there's laws going to be brought in which is going to have a lot of offences put into the category of political violence. And then prison spaces are going to be filled with people getting involved with political violence. What's political violence? A protest. You protesting against the establishment is political violence. Do you understand? Now you watch this Keir Starmer bring some sort of legislation in, which is going to be to do with political violence. And all these protests that you're seeing, and they've been getting away with, and they're screaming in the faces of the police, and they're waving these placards, and they're getting away with it, defacing statues, spray painting this, all that. No more. No more. Picked up, jail straight away. There'll be no court process. It'll be like you've breached your license. You do this in our city, you're getting 3 months mandatory. Straight in. Trust me, this is what you've got coming, and this is how they're going to implement the new way of living that they want us to live by. Think about it, right? If you're in control of 100 people for years and years and years, and them 100 people begin to not listen to you, begin to stop doing what you're telling them to do, what do you do? Exactly.